that you must fulfill. You'll find lots of loving people, people who welcome you.
Let us start with the preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us now pay respect to the triple gem. Arahang sama sambuddho bhagava buddhang bhagavantang abhivademi. Swakato bhagavata dhammo dhammang namasami. Supatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho sanghang namami. Let us now go for the refuge to the triple gem. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. We will now chant the observance of the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micacara veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majapamadatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of the Buddha. Iti piso bhagava arahang sama sambuddho vijacarana sampano sugato lokavidu anutaro purisa dhammasarati satta dewa manusanang buddho bhagavati. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of Dhamma. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko Ehipasiko openaiko pacatang veditabo vinyuhiti. Let us now recollect the sublime qualities of Sangha. Supatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Ujjupatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Nyayapatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Samicipatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa pugala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo anjali karaniyo anuttara punyaketang lokasati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Welcome to Sunday service. Today, we are very fortunate to have Bhante Buddharakkhita, all the way from Africa, who will be giving us a talk based on the Sutta Rāgavinaya Sutta AN 4.96, the subduing of passion. Bhante Buddharakkhita was born and raised in Uganda, Africa. He first encountered Buddhism in 1990 while in India. In November 2002, he received higher ordination from his preceptor, the late Sayadaw Silananda in California. He continued his meditation practice under the guidance of Bhante Henapola Gunaratana for 8 years in West Virginia, United States. Bhante Buddharakkhita is the founder of Uganda Buddhist Center and has been teaching suttas and meditation in the US, Brazil, Europe, Australia, and Asia for more than a decade. Bhante will first be guiding us on a meditation practice for 10 minutes, followed by the Dhamma talk. Let's welcome Bhante.
So we are going to begin our meditation. Yes, so sit comfortably, feel at ease. Let go of the past and the future and abide in the present moment. We can begin with mindfulness of hearing. See if you can be aware of any sounds, external sounds or internal sounds. There's no need to identify the source of the sound, but you can be aware, simply hearing whatever sound. And if there is no sound, no need to create any. Simply abide in that presence. And be aware of the sound, the space, or the silence. We begin with mindfulness of hearing because it points to the natural quality of mindfulness. The object of sound appears and you are present. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to make the sound longer or shorter, but you can be aware. Then we make this transition from sounds, external sounds, connecting the external world with the inner world. So we become to our inner world, to become aware of the whole body sitting here. As you're sitting here, see if you can be aware of the body, whole body sitting. Then the touch points, wherever the body is touching, see if you can be aware of the sensations around that. The knees, the ankles, the hands, lips touching each other. Wherever there's a touch point, I invite you to be aware of the sensation around it. Sometimes there's warmth, coolness, tightness, pressure. See if you can be mindful of the rising and passing aspect of an experience. Whether it's a sensation is rising and passing away. Again, you're just bearing witness. You are not creating anything. You are simply paying attention to what's already happening naturally. Then you can move on from the body to the breath body, breathing in and breathing out. See if you can be mindful of each breath. In breath, out breath. From the beginning of in breath to the end of it. From the beginning of out breath to the end of it. Again, you are sustaining your attention and paying attention to what's already happening. You don't have to make the breath longer, shorter, but you can be aware. As you are aware of the breath, sometimes certain mind states arise in your experience. Maybe it's greed, maybe it's aversion, maybe it's delusion, or the opposite of that. Maybe it's more of understanding, loving kindness and compassion. Maybe it's a moment of letting go. And the breath keeps on us reminding those moments of letting go. So this is mindfulness of mind states that can arise as we sit here and calm down, settle back in the present moment. Sometimes such mind states can arise, or we can call them emotions. Again, you're not creating this emotions that you're just paying attention to these emotions. As they come and go, you can be aware of the rising nature of these emotions, or the passing away nature of these emotions. Maybe it's feelings arising in your experience. Again, his invitation is to be aware of any feelings, pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. Stupamaya sabbe sam satanam sukopamato pasitva kamato metta sabbasate subhavaye. Having seen that all beings like oneself have a desire for happiness, one methodically vows loving kindness for all beings. May you be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. All right. So this is a short meditation for 10 minutes. We are going to now do a Dhamma talk. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. My Dhamma brothers and sisters and friends, today I would like to give a talk on a very interesting discourse, what is called Rāgavinaya Sutta. It's a very, very interesting discourse. Very short, but very, very interesting. As we talk about these suttas, I would like also to bring the aspect of practice. So it's not sutta study alone, it's sutta study and practice, right? It's very, very important, because whatever I would like to share with you, you should put in practice, not just study and leave it there. So now, when I was asked to give this talk, I actually found out that next to the sutta, before that, actually, there's a very, very interesting sutta, which is called Cremation Band. This is the book we are going to use. And this is a discourse that you find in on page 477. But the discourse that I wanted to also to give along with the discourse that you requested me, Rāgavinaya Sutta, is a discourse on page 476, and it's called Cremation Brand. So now we are going to proceed slowly by slowly, starting with the title of the discourse. The title of the discourse is it talks about Rāgavinaya Sutta. I don't need to explain the word sutta, you know, discourse. But raga is a very, very important word. It's a long A, raga. Actually, it means, here the translation is passion. Passion. And we get also other translation, which is lust. Whatever translation you're going to take, like the retro translation by my teacher, Bhante Buddharakkhita, he talked about the word raga means gluing, like a glue, super glue. I don't know if in Singapore you have super glue. Yeah, so we glue ourselves in 5 aggregates. We glue on them. And in this case, it seemed to be the discourse, the way it unfolds, is really Sankara aggregate. We glue on the Sankara aggregate. Because in Sankara aggregate, that's where I found greed, lust, delusion, and all that. So now, the word raga, I want to take the word gluing because it gives me a picture of when we want something. We glue on it, literally. We glue ourselves to something. Passion, the word passion, because the English word, I don't understand very well passion, but if you want to take that one, that's fine. Lust, I understand, but passion, maybe it's okay. But I understand the word glue, because I've ever used super glue and it stuck on my finger, and it was very difficult to remove it, you know. And also when you like something in your life, you kind of glue to it, basically. Yes, let's say you want to eat vegetable chow mein or what. So you take even the address where it is, and you bring your friends, Yeah, let's go to that restaurant, which is okay, especially when I come from Uganda. Yes, and Sister Michelle, Sister Eileen, they take me to their best restaurant. Fine, it's okay. But for me, the word glue, I understand very well. So anyway, whatever you want to take, you take it. But I understand gluing. And this word comes very much in many places, but it is always coming with the other mind states. Dosa, which is anger or aversion. Moha, which is delusion, right? So now, sometimes you find loba. Loba, which is also greed. But here in our discourse, they seem to have used raga, which is a more strong one. Maybe it's stronger than greed. Yeah, because these are degrees of mental states, the different degrees of mental states, and the Buddha give them different names, but it's all the same stuff, but more dose. There's more dose to it. Because, for instance, aversion, there's annoyment, resentment, and all this, and also they have different Pali names actually also. So the Pali name is very clear here that we're gluing on this something. Now, the word Vinaya. The word Vinaya, I think, is familiar with you. The word Vinaya, most of the people know the word Vinaya is Dhamma Vinaya. That means the doctrine and the discipline. So we meet that word. We have Vinaya Pitaka, whereby, you know, that's there's Abhidhamma, and then there's the three baskets, you know very well. You know the Nikayas, but the word Vinaya also is more of a basket there, Vinaya. Basket also there, Vinaya Pitaka. But here, the word Vinaya doesn't mean Pitaka, Tipitaka. It's not one of the three baskets. No, it doesn't mean actually our monastic discipline, because also you hear about, oh, monks Vinaya. This is the monastic discipline. Here, the word Vinaya is a third meaning. Of course, the second meaning, the word Vinaya means the rule, the way of saying things. But actually here, the word Vinaya has these meanings. It has a meaning of subsiding. Subsiding is the third meaning of Vinaya, is subsiding. There's other translation like driving out, abolishing, destruction, removal. All those words really means the same, that you are removing. So now the discourse means removing raga. In other words, ungluing yourself, ungluing. So subsiding of raga discourse. That's what it means. So now I'm going to read the discourse so that you know what Rāgavinaya means, the way how to do. Okay. Now here the discourse was named last, but one wonders why it was named last. The Buddha also is talking about other mental states in the discourse. He's talking about aversion, as you're going to see. He's talking about delusion. So, but he decided to give a title last. But when you look at it deeply, you find out for instance, if we are taking greed or craving or whatever. So when you have another mental state last, it seems to be that it's emerging from the mental state which is lust or craving, whatever. So in other words, there's desire to get, which is the first mental state, desire to get, which is greed, but also there's desire to push away. Desire to push away is aversion, right? So in other words, I'm trying to justify why the Buddha really named the discourse last, the word last. So it means that also other mental states are also rotating around that mental state. Because if you're going to have aversion, why do you have aversion and resentment? Because you're not getting what you want, right? Now you're pushing away. You're pushing away what you don't want. And also the delusion part of it is we found out you can't have anger or aversion without delusion. And also you cannot have lust without delusion. So it makes sense that the Buddha actually gives this name last for the discourse. But let's read the discourse directly. Bhikkhus, there are 4 kinds of persons find existing in the world. What are the 4? One who is practicing for his own welfare, but not for the welfare of others. So then there's the second person, one who is practicing for the welfare of others, but not for his own welfare. That's the second kind of person. Then the third kind of person is one who is practicing neither for his own welfare nor for the welfare of others. And then there's one who is practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others. So now, those are the 4 kinds of persons. We find them in many places, and even prior to this discourse, we find a discourse which is more graphic. That's why I like this. I included this discourse because it's more graphic when the Buddha talks about cremation brand, right? So I'm going to read also that discourse, since they are very short discourses. So I'm going to read it because it has 2 similes. The discourse before this one, it has 2 similes which are very, very powerful. So I better read that discourse also, actually, so that we go through this discourse. So now, we go number 1. Which kind of person is this one? Number 1. And how bhikkhus is a person practicing for his own welfare, and not for the welfare of others. Now, the Buddha answer here, some person practices for the removal, to remove his own lust. I told you Rāgavinaya. It means remove, subsiding, distracting, ending, driving out. That's what it means. To remove his own lust, remove hatred and delusion, but does not encourage others to remove their lust, hatred, and delusion. In this way, that a person is practicing for his own welfare and not for the welfare of others. Now, you know what's lust, and I don't need to explain much about that. You know a mental state about hatred. I don't need to explain that. Delusion. Delusion, I might want to explain a little bit, because most people ask me, what's delusion? What does it mean to be deluded? And why is the Buddha sometimes use delusion and sometimes use ignorance? You see, most of the time when the Buddha is talking about the origin of suffering, the paticca sampada, it talks about avidya, pachaya, sankara, this kind of thing. So this kind of from ignorance arises this avidya, pachaya, this. So now, there specifically the Buddha uses a mental state called ignorance, but whenever he talks about 3 mental states, always he talks about greed or lust, hatred, and aversion. And delusion. Why doesn't the Buddha say raga, dosa, avidya? Yes. So now, these mental states, that trio, they come into 3. The delusion part, according to my understanding, is more of distorting reality. Well, I can give an example like this. If somebody has a cataracts, I heard that somebody who has this disease, sometimes they don't see, but sometimes they see actually, but they see quite the opposite. So in other words, somebody who has avidya doesn't see, let's call it spiritual darkness. Somebody doesn't see the truth. Somebody doesn't see the Four Noble Truths. Somebody doesn't see the Dhamma. And somebody, even you tell them, okay, Buddhism, no, don't even talk about that. And I have so many people like that actually. What? Don't talk even about those things. So it doesn't want to see, so it's there kind of darkness basically. But somebody come and they join Dhamma and then they kind of see, but see quite the opposite. So instead of taking things that are, when the Buddha talks about things that are impermanent, they say, no way, things are permanent. Then you tell them suffering, say, you're kidding me. There's a lot of happiness around the world. And they said, don't even talk about suffering. Then you talk about this teaching of the Buddha that talks about anatta. He said, no. There is atta. This kind of thing. They cannot know, but not quite the opposite, right? And I've encountered many people like that. I told you in my past teaching, I was teaching in Pittsburgh, and the doctor from Thailand, who's a surgeon, didn't have much time and saved some time and came to my talk. And then I talked about the three characteristics of existence. He raised his hand. He told me, I know about suffering. I know about non-self, but I can't see impermanence. For me, I can't see impermanence. This is a person who was born a Buddhist, and he's a doctor, a surgeon. He was a very senior surgeon that he really carved out of his time to come to Pittsburgh, USA, where he was in a hospital. He really saved some time to come to my talk. So now I say, what am I going to teach this physician? He's a surgeon, and for him, he cannot see things. He doesn't see at all impermanence. He sees quite the opposite. Things are permanent. Okay, now I gave an experiment. I said, now, let's say, let us breathe together, right? For me, I see impermanence. You don't see impermanence. For me, I'm going to breathe out, breathe in, and breathe out, but you don't. I told you, you don't. Because if everything is permanent, you should be breathing, and you keep on breathing. You keep breathing in. So for me, as soon as I breathe in, and then I say, okay, I breathe out. I said, for me, I've seen impermanence. I've already breathed in and breathe out. I said, don't breathe out, don't breathe out, don't breathe out. He started really feeling uncomfortable, and also he had to breathe out. I said, that's impermanence. Do you understand impermanence? He said, yes, I understand it now. So now people really know that there's something, but they take it quite the opposite. Another one is about a lady from Korea who came to Bhavana Society before I became a monk. I gave a talk on the Four Noble Truths. She was an Agalika, staying in the monastery, taking 8 precepts. I talked in the evening talk as I was training to give these talks. Bhante Buddharakkhita give this opportunity to the residents to practice giving Dhamma talk. So that's 2001. I was practicing how to give Dhamma talks. And now in the evening, I gave a Dhamma talk. And nobody asked questions. But then I was walking at Bhavana Society. We normally walk after lunch. And then this time I mixed my lunch walk, and the evening I took a walk. And this lady came along with me. I was not a monk. I was a resident at Bhavana Society. He said, Bhante, I'm very disappointed about your talk. I said, why? Bhante, you kept on talking about suffering. There's a lot of happiness. There's no suffering. I said, what? There's no suffering. For me, I'm suffering. He said, oh no, I'm enjoying my life. Happiness. In New York, everywhere. Again, I would use the same experiment. I said, you are not suffering. Okay, let us breathe in. Don't breathe out. Don't breathe out. Again, she started suffering. The eyes was starting to be painful because he was not breathing out. So then I said, okay, now you can breathe out, because I was really seeing that she was very uncomfortable. And now I tell you, is there suffering in the world? She said, yes, you're right. So anyway, I do experiment like that. People actually deluded. Yeah, it's not the same as that they are ignorant, but they're deluded. In other words, delusion means to see something quite the opposite, you know? You see something, but you see quite the opposite, right? So now, that's why those mental states, I had to talk more about that, because sometimes delusion and ignorance confuse people. What's the difference? So now you know the difference. So now the sutta unfolds like this. Here, some person practices to remove his own lust, hatred, and delusion, but does not encourage others to remove their lust, hatred, and delusion. In this way, that a person is practicing for his own welfare, but not for the welfare of others. So that's the first kind of person. Now, you can give an example. When you practice for yourself, and after practicing, you meet a friend and they say, okay, you know how to practice Dhamma. How can I remove my anger, you know? I say, no, I don't know. So, so you don't actually share the knowledge or that you've learned. So you're practicing for your own self, but don't encourage others. Actually, the Buddha taught us how we should actually encourage others to practice also the Dhamma. But of course, you should not force them. You should not force them, you know. I had a very, very good discourse from this Ugandan monk. What is it about? Then there's this. And then you must learn this one, you know. And then you really actually force people to do this. No. Just really kind of encourage them. You say, you know, for me, I've been practicing like this, but these things work. This technique works very well. And then after that, they start asking, can you share with me? And then slowly you unfold. Otherwise, you can be very enthusiastic about something, and then you teach to people, and you're not encouraging them, but you're just putting something in their throats, and they're not ready, you know? Yeah, so for me in Uganda, I'm very, very careful. And in many ways, people say, oh, you know, you've been talking to us, but you have not talked about your religion. I said, well, you didn't ask. And then when you ask, I'll teach you, you know. So I'm very, very careful not really to unfold all the teachings of the Buddha until people are ready, and also people when they ask me. And sometimes people ask me to elaborate further, then I elaborate. So because I'm in a different world here, but I do encourage people to really practice the Dhamma so that I can belong to the first kind of person. In many ways, when you look at this discourse, if you look at it very clearly, a person practicing for the welfare of others and not for his own, this person is good in a way, because once they have removed greed, hatred, and delusion, at some stage, people will see how peaceful you are. Right? People will see how peaceful you are, because we don't, even if you don't encourage them by your words, but actually you encourage them by your actions. But provided that you have really realized the path. That means you have already removed completely greed, hatred, and delusion. There people will learn by your actions. Yes, but since you have not completed it fully, yeah, in many ways you have to encourage others, you know, a little bit you have removed, then you encourage other people to remove, you know. Yeah, so now this is very clear that this person is only doing it for themselves, but not for others. We go to the second person. And how is a person practicing for the welfare of others and not for his own welfare, of course, for her own welfare also? His and hers is understood here. It's not only for his own fare, but also have own welfare. So here the Buddha is saying some person encourage others to remove their lust, hatred, delusion, but does not practice to remove his own lust, hatred, and delusion. It's in this way that a person is practicing for the welfare of others, but not for the welfare, his own welfare. This is also very common. This person does nothing, doesn't lift a finger, doesn't come to listen to Dhamma talks, doesn't really follow Buddha's teaching. And then he talks about, wow, Buddha's teaching is so good. You should practice. You should go and meditate. For them, they don't meditate. They don't meditate, yet they are encouraging others to meditate. Right? Yeah, so this is very common actually also. Do you meditate? I said, no, it's very hard. But you can try if you want. Actually, one time I found out one scholar, and I was so surprised that he doesn't meditate actually, because he has been a scholar for 30 years, a very prominent scholar, but I don't have to mention his name. And for the first time, I met him in Thailand at a conference, World Buddhist University. There's a World Buddhist University. And now we're speaking. And he said that, yes, I'm a Buddhist scholar, but I don't meditate. I don't meditate. I said, wow, in Buddhism, you need to meditate in order to really realize something, because Buddha's teaching has three angles. One is theory, another one is practice, another realization. So now, if you just only theory and no practice and no realization, well, I don't know. So then, of course, that's what I was really surprised that, okay, he had meditation, and he's very good scholar teaching others how to practice it. But of course, he teaches others, but they can take degrees in Buddhism, diplomas in Buddhism, certificate in Buddhism, but really Buddhism requires practice, right? Practice must happen, yeah, in order to realize, to go ahead from theory to practice, and then of course realization also had to happen. So now, maybe this one is talking about one who is not practicing. Maybe somebody might be talking about it, but not practicing, all right? So we have to make that distinction between listening and that's why I say sutta studies and practice, right? Not just the sutta studies. We have to encourage people to practice, right? So now, this is also a person who actually doesn't want to practice to remove these mental states, but he just encourage others. Buddha put them to be the second kind of person here. But let's go to the third person. And how is a person practicing neither for his own welfare, nor for the welfare of others? Here, some person does not practice to remove his own greed, hatred, lust, hatred, and delusion, nor does he encourage others to remove their lust, hatred, and delusion. In this way, it is in this way that a person is practicing neither for his own welfare nor for the welfare of others. Well, this is a person whereby you tell them, okay, come and listen to Dhamma talk, come and practice. And this practice is good for peace, to remove your mental defilements. He said, no way, I'm not going to practice. And also, when this person, also the same person, doesn't practice for his own fare, and doesn't practice for the welfare of others. So this is exactly what happened. Most people, they don't do that also. They don't want to practice for their own fare, and also, since they don't want to practice for their own welfare, also they're not going to encourage others. Actually, that's what happened. If you don't practice for your own fare and really get to know the Dhamma and see the juice, the benefit of it, then also you cannot tell others. Normally, it's easy to tell others when you have practiced and you've got the benefits of the Dhamma, of overcoming lust, hatred, and delusion. Because once you do that, there's that freedom. When the Buddha gave many suttas talking about once you subside, the mental states like lust, hatred, and delusion subside, what comes is the opposite of that. Generosity, loving kindness, compassion, understanding, wisdom. So what happens is you get what you call, the Buddha talks about pamoja. You get what you call pamoja, gladness. Even with a vague attempt to remove these mental states, you get some benefits. One of the benefits, a mental state called pamoja, is gladness. Then there is also another mental states. The Buddha talks about calmness, he talks about gladness, talks about happiness. So once you test those kind of things, then it's easy to tell people, oh, you practice this to remove this, because I removed it. When I removed a little bit, though there's still some, but actually I encourage you also to remove it. But instead, this person doesn't practice, then he has not get the benefit, and then he doesn't also tell others, definitely. So this person also is there. We are going to see later on the Buddha grading this person as the worst of all. So we go to the last one. The last one is the fourth one. And how is the person practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others? Here, some person practices to remove his own lust, hatred, and delusion,
and encourage others to remove their lust, hatred, and delusion. It is in this way that a person is practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others. These bhikkhus are the four kinds of person found existing in the world. So now the Buddha later on says the best, and he gave similes actually, which is very interesting that we are going to get these similes in the discourse that precedes this. So now this is very, very interesting. This person is what I told you, when somebody really practice the Dhamma in theory and practice, even better when they realize the Dhamma, they really feel as they're getting something out of the Dhamma. So they are practicing for their own fare, but also encourage others. So they will go to the other person and say, wow, I went for the retreat. I felt very calm and peaceful. And I feel now I'm no longer angry as I used to be. I'm no longer deluded as I used to be. A little bit of lust, but I'm working on it. Work in progress. Somebody say, wow, Sister so-and-so used to be very angry, but look, they are shining, so they'll be encouraged also to practice. Yes, they'll be encouraged to practice. And normally when you finish a retreat, maybe 5 days, 3 days, you look so calm and mellow and very, very friendly, very, very friendly. And now people say, where have you been? I've been meditating. This retreat was very, very good. So I encourage you to attend the retreat. I encourage you to come to Uganda and 2022, come to Uganda. So you encourage others to practice, So this is very, very good that you practice for your own welfare and welfare of others. So those are four kinds of person. So now I'm going to go a little bit beyond this discourse. One is to elaborate more on how to practice for your own welfare. Another one is more of another discourse, which is giving very beautiful similes. But I think before I go to that discourse, it's better to know some of the methods to practice to remove greed, lust, and hatred and delusion. Because as the sutta states here, they don't tell us how. It assumes that the listener knows how to do it. So for that matter, I would like to take a short excursion to a different discourse, which gives different methods. All right. One of them is Satipatthana Sutta, practice mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, in that discourse, talks about practicing mindfulness for oneself. So you practice externally, internally, and both, right? So you see, it also covers those three areas. One, inside yourself, others, and both, right? So that one, it helps you to know what mental states arising within you. And also when you're sitting next to another person, you might say, oh, wow, this person is getting angry also, right? So you can know also other people's mind states. And also that's how you can encourage them. When you're sitting there, so that maybe you are not feeling very well. My sister, brother, how you feel? I felt maybe this way. Yeah, I felt that you're not, maybe there's a little bit of Dhamma medicine here, right? And also both, So now mindfulness is going to help you to overcome lust, right? When you're mindful of lust, and then you make it the object of a meditation. The good news about the mindfulness is when we take the object, let's say the object of lust, as our meditation object, then there's freedom, right? We're mindful of that object. But when you are mindless, then there's bondage. The same object become a bondage because we are holding it mindlessly. But with mindfulness, then we can work on the mental state that arising, that is being triggered, and then we become aware of the presence. This is the instruction the Buddha gave. You become aware of the presence of greed, hatred, and delusion. Then also you become aware of the absence of lust, the absence of hatred, which is loving kindness, the absence of delusion is wisdom. The absence of lust is ungluing. because last we are gluing on something. So we let go, right? We let go, we don't hold is this kind of mental state. That's number one. Of course, the discourse unfolds to know the conditions, how this greed is arising, how lust is arising. Is maybe paying unwise attention to the theme of beauty. Why lust is arising. Why is aversion arising? Anger is arising? Is you are paying unwise attention to the theme of irritation. Irritation. When irritation arises, then you start thinking about, oh, I'm irritated. Oh, this guy is not good. Blah, blah. So you become, you pay unwise attention. So the opposite of that is to pay wise attention to the theme of loving kindness, right? So this is how you deal with mindfulness. Of course, you also these mental states. You have to know is it? Of course, I told you the conditions. You have to know those conditions, and then you have to know: is it rising? Is it passing out or staying the same? And also, you have to let go. You have to let go. It's a mental state of letting go of, and don't crave for these mental states. Oh, most people crave, I'm going to be angry for this person, but they did this to me. I'm going to. So let go, don't hold on to it. So that's mindfulness. Another one is another 5 methods, which I've discussed before, but they bear repeating so that we don't leave a sutta hanging like that. We should not list the first method we should use to practice for our own welfare. All right. So today I'm going to mention 6 of them, and then that's a good start so that you can practice for your welfare and for the welfare of others. You encourage others also to employ those 6 methods. All right, there's another method that I taught you before. You find it in Vitakka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. Is actually when you have such a mind state like lust, you replace with the opposite. The opposite of greed is in non-greed, generosity, letting go. The opposite of hatred, of aversion, is loving kindness, compassion. The opposite of delusion is understanding and wisdom. So it's called replacement method, substitution method. You substitute with the opposite. That's the second method. It can help you to practice for your own welfare. The second method, the third method, there in the, of course, I've already told you mindfulness, the first one, but the discourse doesn't start with mindfulness, though mindfulness has to be there all the time, right? With even these 5 techniques given in Vitakka Sutta, you have to use mindfulness. Otherwise, you don't know which which technique you are going to use and when, right? So now the second one in Vitakka Sutta is reflection. You reflect on this mind state, all right? This mind state of anger is going to bring a lot of stress, a lot of harm, a lot of disappointment. So I should not really get involved in all the triggers of this mental state. So you reflect on the degradation of this mental state, the defilement of this state, that this mind state is going to defile my mind. You reflect on the what to call the degradation, degradation, defilement. You have to reflect like that. So now you have also to go to the reflection of the opposite, of course. The opposite is that when you have the opposite mindsets, you're going to be happy, you're going to be peaceful. But normally when you reflect on the negative state of mind, you are going to let go, and that mental state is going to subside. I told you last time, I used this example, that it's like when you're driving a car in Singapore, Geelong, and then you say policeman is going to give you a ticket and you're driving beyond the speed limit. You don't increase driving very fast. You have to reduce because you have reflected. So through reflection, you can remove the gas pedal and don't continue on driving very fast, and you slow down, and then you are not going to get a ticket. So the same with these mental states, we need to reflect, keep on reflecting that, okay, now I have lust, hatred, and delusion. I'm going to really get a ticket, a very expensive ticket. you lose peace of mind, you're not happy anymore. Your friends would avoid you, because you're losing it all the time. So you reflect like this, then you can actually practice to remove these mental states. Then there is another method, is called redirection. Redirection your mind. That's the third method. You can redirect your mind from this mental state, and then you actually take maybe something else. You can come to the breath, something wholesome, and then you take a deep breath and relax. So you redirect your mind from these tormenting mind states, and then you come back to the breath, which is more neutral. You become mindful of the breath and come back to the body. In a larger picture, you can really actually even take a short walk if possible, but I prefer methods that you can use without walking. Yeah, I gave an example last time, is that it's like when you're talking to somebody, and then somebody comes and say, hey, can I talk to you? The third person, when he comes like this and say, hey, can I talk to you? And then if you're allowed to talk, even 5 minutes, by the time you finish talking to the third person, you come back, you lost the thread. You lose the momentum, And then when you lose the momentum, and then you start looking, oh, what I was talking about. The same when you have these mind states, negative emotions, very difficult emotions. If you allow yourself to come back to the breath for a few minutes, it's not going to be the same when you come back. So in other words, you're subsiding, reducing these emotions. Not only raga, not only greed, but also other emotions. You have to subside them like this. The fourth one is retracing, looking for the root. What's the nourishing root? What's the springboard of these mental states? And then you can, once you know the root, let's say for fear, the root of fear is aversion. Then when you find out, oh, now what am I averse to? Then the root of aversion or anger is craving, pushing out what you don't want. So once you really go to the springboard of the mind states, actually also it will help you to reduce the particular mental state. And finally, in this discourse, the Buddha talking about resolution, making a strong resolve, using every ounce of your energy to let go of these mental states. So at least you have 5 methods on subsiding of these mental states. You practice them and also encourage others to practice them. And then the last part of my talk is visiting. This discourse is very, very important because it has powerful similes that I like very much. And I'm going to read this one verbatim. It's called Cremation brand. Bhikkhus, by the way, personally, I've never seen this kind of stick, but it's kind of a very, very graphic simile. but I like to share with you this discourse, though it is not part of what you requested, but I thought let's go through it. Because there are 4 kinds of persons found existing in the world. What are the 4? One who is practicing neither for his own welfare nor for the welfare of others. One who is practicing for the welfare of others, but not for his own welfare. One who is practicing for his own welfare and not the welfare of others. And one who is practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others. Now, suppose, because a cremation brand was blazing at both ends and smeared with dung, cow dung in other words, in the middle. It could not be used as timber either in the village or in the forest. Just like this, I say, is the person who is practicing neither for his own welfare nor for the welfare of others. I told you that this person in the other discourse was the person number 3. The Buddha said that is like, he compared it to a cremation brand. So in other words, on this side, you cannot use it, which is the dwellers on the forest. And people are cutting timber, they cannot use it because it's actually both ends no good, and the middle also. So the same thing when you're practicing, you're not practicing for your own fair, your own fair, and for the welfare of both. The Buddha compared this person to a cremation brand. Now we continue. This very, very powerful discourse. So this reminds me myself, whenever I do something at Uganda Buddhist Center, I make sure that I do for my benefit and benefit of others. It's very, very important. But if I found out what I'm doing is not benefiting myself and not benefiting others, I don't proceed, right? So now the second person, because the person among, this is the continuation of the discourse. Because the person among these who is practicing for the welfare of others, but not for his own welfare, is more excellent and sublime of the first of the two persons, right? The two persons. The person practicing for his own welfare and not for the welfare of others is even more excellent and sublime of the three persons, right? Now, the person practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others is foremost. He used 4 words here. We'll count. Foremost, the best, the preeminent, the supreme, and the finest of all the 4 persons. He's giving the powerful simile here. Just as from cows, just as from a cow comes milk, from milk, curd, from curd butter, from butter ghee, and from cream of the ghee. So now he says that just as from a cow comes these 4 things. From cow, there are 4 things that comes. One is milk. Another one, from milk curd, from curd butter, from butter ghee, and from ghee cream of the ghee. That is the finest, actually. Cream of the ghee is the finest. So, which is reckoned to be the foremost of all the 4. Of all the 4 things, like milk curd, or curd butter, and butter ghee, what is really the foremost is ghee cream. Is cream of ghee is the best here. The Buddha is saying is the best. I don't know whether I've ever eaten that, but maybe so. So the person practicing both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others is the foremost, the best, the preeminent, the supreme, and the finest of all these 4 persons. These bhikkhus are the 4 kinds of person found existing in the world. In other words, in this discourse, the Buddha actually graded them. That's why I like this discourse, because the Buddha graded all those 4 people. He put them where they belong. He graded them, giving marks, right? And for me, I said 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So now the person who practicing both for the welfare of others and for oneself and both, that's 100%. 100%, because now people in the village these days, people in the modern world, they don't understand what's cream of ghee, right? But they understand grades. So now 100% is one who practices both. One who is practicing for neither, for the welfare of oneself, and I grade them to, I wanted to put a 0, but actually I put 25% for the sake of comparison. And one for one practicing for the one own benefit and not benefit of others, 75%. And the one who practicing for their own benefit and they're not practicing for their own benefit but benefiting of others, I gave 50%. Just those grade system, because I like grading people. In my student, I'm a teacher. I always keep grading people. I read their passages and give them grades at the university. So now I gave grades for you to remember. So now this discourse is very, very important, actually. Very important in that we don't read it like this, but also we practice it. And as I gave you, at least today, I gave you 6 methods on how to practice for your own fare. I've taught you in Singapore many times, I think, about this discourse, but it bears repeating. The 4 foundation of mindfulness as a discourse, read it and practice it so that you can realize it. Another discourse, Vitakasandana Sutta. Those are not the only suttas, but because of the time we have a very limited time. There are many discourses like the sutta how to overcome asavas. Yes, that discourse also how to overcome asavas. Yeah, mental taints, how to overcome taints. There are many, many discourses, but for the sake of time, at least go with 6 ways of overcoming these mental states: Raga, and Dosa, and Moha. So now with this, I think I would like to end my talk and reopen it, because I don't end my talks. I reopen it for you because I'm offering this for your reflection and and your continuation of the practice. So I'm not ending my talk. I'm reopening my talk for your benefit, because I hope you practice and get 100% from this discourse of the 4 kinds of person. You belong to the category of the one who is practicing for both. This is the best from the discourse. The discourse is pretty much straightforward, actually. But what I liked about the discourse is the one I've discussed to you about the cremation brand, is that the Buddha gave very, very powerful simile. They are very powerful, and also they reflect the background of his time, right? Because in India they cremate a lot, so it must be the case that many people stumble over this cremation brand, and as they are collecting firewood, maybe probably to go to cook, right? Because he was living in a forest, But also he used a simile of the farming, cattle, because people were keeping a lot of cows, and most people would relate to that very well. Yeah, but most modern people now, they may not know what milk card is, but I know it at least. But they get it from the supermarket. Then you ask them, where does milk card come from? They say, we don't know. They don't know that it's coming from a cow, maybe. Yeah, I get people from America, they come here for the first time, they see a sugarcane tree. They see, first time they see a pineapple tree. Recently, I have 2 of them came and I said, wow, is this the avocado tree? I was so surprised. They collected the avocado. They wanted to even take them to America. So really, sometimes when I invite people from the United States, I'm really sometimes surprised. I say, are you sure you've never seen an avocado tree? And they admire it and all that. But of course, I'm sailing in the same boat. The first apples I ate, they were from Vatican. And my uncle is a Pope Knight. He's a very Christian. And he used to go to Rome when I was young. And he used to bring apples. But we didn't have apples in Uganda. So I kept on eating apples, but all of them are from Italy. And no single apple in Uganda. So now when I went to America and I saw the first apple tree, first actually I went to India. The first time I saw it, I was so surprised. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not blaming Americans. I blame myself having eaten a lot of apples in Uganda and I didn't know the tree. So the same thing, maybe the Buddha used the simile. Most people may not know where this cream of ghee is coming from, but nevertheless, the discourse shows what's the best and the worst, and also it reveals the background of the sutta, what is happening. And the good news is that the Buddha gave this sutta and gave them close to each other so that you don't miss out. With that, I'll end my, I open my talk. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. Sad, sad, sad. Now, questions, please.
Questions. Shixuan, can you ask the questions, please, from anyone?
Thank you, Bhante, for the talk. I have several questions here already. The first question is, how do you advise someone to forego his or her passion? I tried to tell a friend to change his habits, but he asked why.
Actually, these are the questions. These things are very, very good. When you tell somebody, you have to tell them the reason based on your experience, not from their book. Don't say, you know this Tipitaka? The Buddha says good. No, no, no. You tell them your very, very experience, what you reaped from having too much passion. For me, when I tell people how to, in order to overcome their passion, or whatever thing, I really give a living example where I experienced how craving brought me a lot of troubles, right? So now this is what I do, because it's not easy. That's a big thing in our life. They teach us how to crave, how to have passion. You have to have passion for that. I mean, if people that are passionless, they feel there's something missing in their life. They feel that their world is flat. So now, when I teach about this mental state, I tell people that one time I was in India and I desired to see snow, and then I saved money, which took me 3 months to save money, and they got the bus. I saw in the newspaper there's snowfall, snowflakes. I didn't know what we call snowfall. I don't know. So I was so surprised to see snowflakes coming down on the ground, and I said I want to go to see snow falling. I didn't know what's this snow falling. So now I went through a lot of pain to save my money because I was a student in India, and of course, after my exams, I get on the bus about 5 hours. Also, I don't even remember the distance, but it's definitely 5 hours, I think. And I reached the resort, Shimla, where you can see snow. Because I didn't know about snow because I'm from Uganda, which is a tropical country. I had a camera. I start taking camera. I allow snow go inside, goes inside there, go inside there, go inside. I was so excited and happy, joy. I was full. I was at the top of my joy, Wow, what an experience. It was very white. The Indian people were seeing this African person really playing with snow. And I was wondering, all these people, I became the center of their attention. And they were just looking at me. My friend, after a few minutes, the snow started melting and I felt cold. I was freezing. I dropped my camera. Wow. Now, that is a life experience. I tell them, yes, you have passion, but you take responsibility of it. As my teacher said, buy one, get one free. So now you get all that. You tell them, yes, you enjoy, no problem. But from my experience, I didn't get only one. Also, it fell with suffering. If they really see, because you see how you have to walk the talk, telling people you overcome passion and all these things, it's not going to work. You have to tell in your life exactly how you suffered when you had a similar mental state. And they know, there is also something to get. And people, of course, this passion is a big chunk of our life, but people also, they know sometimes how it brings also suffering, maybe more suffering, less enjoyment and more suffering. And that's what the Buddha talked about. Buddha talked about gratification, but we should graduate. He didn't use the word graduating, but we should also see the danger involved in these sensual pleasures. And also you should see the escape. Buddha gave the gratification, acknowledging that, okay, passion has some enjoyment. He didn't say, no, it's very bad, don't do it too. No, he say, yes, I acknowledge there's gratification, but also there's danger. And also there's a way to escape. So now, maybe the people you are talking about, you have not told them to graduate from grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3. Tell them that there's a room for graduation. So don't enjoy only. Tell them that also this enjoyment comes along with some kind of price. You have to pay for it, The enjoyment comes with a price. And then also there's a route to escape. And also you tell them how you enjoyed one time you renounced, instead of eating 5 ice creams and you ate 1, and then, I felt freedom. I felt not so full. So you have to come up with a vivid example, but with such a mental state, you don't tell them Buddha says it's fancy to overcome lust. And no. You tell them your personal experience, and it should be very, very powerful experience. And say, I'm not telling you that today drop it all together, but can you really chip it a little bit? A little bit. The more you have to tell them, the more you chip it a little bit, the more I become happy. But if you tell them, please overcome your lust, they say, why? But you tell them the benefit, okay, you'll be more happy. You tell them, okay, you'll suffer, right? But you'll be more happy, right? So I think that's the reason. And of course, people have to take their time. Don't tell them that by next week, don't eat 10 ice creams. No, don't eat. This is something that is a project of our life. Don't tell them you should drop the whole thing tomorrow. No. This is something we have to work, maybe in this lifetime, maybe next lifetime. So now, take it easy. Even when you want to encourage people, tell them that this thing is possible. That's what the Buddha tell the people, that I won't teach you impossible. I'm not going to teach you what is impossible. Most people, my experience, they tell me, no, it's impossible. How can you live without greed? How can you live without this and this? This is impossible. No. You tell them, this is possible. And the benefit of this is that once you let it go, maybe if you have 100% of greed or lust, and you let it go maybe 20%, you'll be happy 20%. How about that? Sister, let us try it. Let us not watch the whole movie the whole weekend. Let us just do something, because people have addictions, You tell them, okay, it's freedom. There's some freedom. So in other words, you have to tell them what's the benefit, what's the trade-off, and also what's the repercussions. Otherwise, you tell them information which is naked and say, it's very good actually to let go. People say, why do they have to let go? So I think after all, your duty is to encourage them. You can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. So, but your job is to encourage them. Whether they are going to let go of their passion or not, that's not a problem. So actually, your thing is this one. I tell you, there are 3 things you have in front of you. One is your intention to tell them. The same with your intention to practice. The effort, skillful effort to practice, and also skillful effort to tell them what to do. The third factor is beyond your control, including yourself. How they are going to let go is beyond. I told you last time you should meditate like chickens. Chickens, they have intention, they have effort, but results, they don't have the results, they don't focus on them. So don't focus on their results, whether they're going to let go or not, but focus on your intention to tell them. Count on that. I would like you to bank on your intention to tell them what to do. Don't look at the results, whether they are reduced eating ice cream or whatever. So just also do their efforts. Continue telling them. And then the results of your intention, or some intentions and skillful effort, when you combine that, whether your words will ring a bell so that they really actually realize it or not, it's not your province. So you've done your best job. So is your practice actually. Your practice is to put your awesome intention to practice, to let go these mental states, and to put the effort there. As you do that, be mindful, be effortful, then gradually these mental states are going to reduce. Because they have their own schedule to keep also. These mental states, they have their own schedule to keep. They came due to causes and condition. You have to remove them due to causes and condition. So they have to. So in other words, you cannot say, oh, I'm going to sit here in meditation. Oh, yeah, 5 minutes. Yes, let me overcome greed, hatred, delusion. No, it's not come like that. So you have to untie the conditions that brought it. Thank you very much. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Bhante, for the answer.
Yes.
Okay, the second question is, why is it important to help others in the spiritual path?
You see that when you look at, there are 3 ways actually we can look at. 3 ways, or 2, let's say 2. It's very, very important, though from the Buddha, Buddha's teaching, the Buddha talks about this spiritual path. Ananda used to think that is only for having a spiritual friend, is half a holy life. Ananda was thinking like the Buddha said, no. Having a spiritual life is the whole. Having a spiritual friend is a whole holy life. It's not only half of it. So now, when you are practicing spiritually, it's very, very important to other people also to make this transition. After all, you are going to be with them all the time. Human beings, we are not isolated. We live with people, right? So, for instance, if you take the other approach, whereby you practice and overcome greed, but you have 100 people who are greedy. So also you're always going to go back into the same thing. So it's better you tell them, okay, it's good to overcome greed. And now when you don't eat in the evening and you have renounced your last meal like monks, so then you are surrounded with people who are not just say, yummy, yummy, yummy. You see, so now it happens to me, like I'm just giving my own example, Sometimes, of course, I don't eat in the evening, and I've been doing that for the last 19 years. But when I'm in a temple here, because all the people that I'm admitting at the temple, they keep 8 precepts. And I told those who don't keep 8 precepts to go outside the temple. And we have bought houses so that they stay 5 precepts. I'm telling you, it's much better. For many years, I lived with people here who actually keep 5 precepts. And in the evening, they have to eat, And for us, we monks, we don't eat until I said, no. Some of my novice monks, they start actually sneaking and try to get something to eat because they see other people eating, So what I did, we bought a house and then they had to go outside the 5 preceptors. And now everybody who come to the Uganda Buddhist Center is 8 precepts. They don't eat in the evening. So that means when I'm here meditating and I have not eaten in the evening, all other people are not eating in the evening. But before that, other people, you used to hear omelette, cha, 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 cha. And your stomach would start complaining also, So in other words, in one way, it's good that you encourage other people also to practice so that you're on the same page, basically, That's one way. And the Buddha said, okay, the whole spiritual life is a spiritual friend. That means who is having similar mental states, who has faith, who has ethical conduct, wisdom, and this kind of thing. That's one reason. But when you look at life itself, you cannot live in isolation. So like these fingers, this has its own role to play, and this one to play, and this one to play, and this to play. So they all work together. So even this work, we need to do it together because different people have different faculties. Other people have more energy in the spiritual path. Others have more wisdom. Others have more faith. Others has more concentration, mindfulness. So if we all uplift together, so you'll be inspired by each other, other than somebody who doesn't know at all, right? Nothing at all, blank, nothing. But if you encourage others to practice, you're going to get inspired along the way. Wow, my brothers, I told, come to meditate. But when he sits for hours, 4 hours in meditation. You are the one who encourage them, but you might have a different faculty. Maybe you have more wisdom. Maybe you have more faith, So then you can find other people inspiring you along the path, though yours faculty can be very a very good faith, and then you encourage another person, you find out these people, they're very meticulous when it comes to concentration, when it comes to understanding, wisdom, and those. So then it's good not to be alone on the path. I would think so, right? And also, of course, what the Buddha talked is that you remove your mental defilements and go. This message was to the monks, but also to others, that you monks, you should not go in the same direction. Go and teach people for the welfare and benefit of others, right? So you can see that was the injunction of the Buddha himself. That's how he intended that this message is very, very important, so that it should spread far and wide. Don't leave it for yourself. So I think that's what I can think of. But there are many reasons, but given time, but I think that's enough for the reason why it's very important that you don't keep your practice a lot to yourself, but also you encourage others. Very, very important for your benefit, in other words. I give you an example. Let me give you an example. When I was a student in college, in secondary school, I started developing a habit of studying things above our classes. I have a friend who was in senior 5. Whenever I was in senior 3, I would study things of senior 4. Whenever I'm in senior 2, I study things of senior 3. Like this. So now I had a lot of formulas to do things. Whenever we had exams, I was using advanced formulas, which was not within our syllabus of that class. So now, but some of these friends of mine, they taught me a very bad habit. They told me that once you have a formula, don't share it. Don't share it. So now what happened? I used to keep this formula to myself, but sometimes I could forget them. I could forget them, because I didn't share it with somebody, I would misplace them, and then I don't remember myself, So now, also in primary 7, actually I used to share a lot. So whenever I lose, or maybe I forget the formula, I would go to somebody whom I shared with and say, last time I told you this, do you still remember it? They would share with me. So I have this in primary 7 where I was sharing and how I was benefiting because I shared it with somebody, and then they gave me back what I had shared with them. And then when I reached the senior secondary, some student in my group, they said, don't even share those people, let us keep this to ourselves. And then I would lose it, and then I could not get to somebody to share, to remind me, So in the same thing, in the Dhamma practice, we remind each other in many ways. The path is very big. This samsara is very big, So we shouldn't tread it alone. We should share with others. Then they can, those are the people you have shared with them, they come back and remind you. Last thing, I give you an example. I'm one of the teachers at IMS in USA, and there's a teacher called, I'm not going to reveal the name, actually it's not going to reveal people's name. The teacher has been teaching for so many years. One time he was listening to me talking, and I was his student actually, and one time he listened to me talking about 5 hindrances. He told me after my talk, he said, I've been teaching all these years, but I didn't know that this is a method you can use to overcome this hindrance. So that means he shared with me when I was still a student, and now I'm a teacher, and now I said something he didn't know. So I've seen it, this is very, very important to encourage others, because later on they can encourage you. And here in African tradition, we say wisdom is like fire. You get it from others. So also you can actually get wisdom from others when they know something. But if they don't know, then you can't get it. I think I've stayed long on your question, but I hope it's clear. Any other question? How can I persuade my Christian faith adult son to give up fishing? Oh, okay. Now, this one, most people do fishing because they don't take the first precepts, right? They don't take first precepts. So given the background of your friend, your son, you have to explain them the commandment, thou shalt not kill. But you have now to use Buddhist analysis of that precept very well. And then the second thing, you have to explain them about the love karma. What you do comes back to you. You have to give the third thing, you have to explain them. For me, I've already told somebody here, for instance, my caretaker was running to kill a rat. I say, wait, what if you are the rat and somebody's running to kill you? How you feel? Oh, I will not feel good. They gave up killing. Yes. So you tell them to have the golden rule. That's the third thing. You tell them a golden rule, put yourself in the shoes of others. Then you could encourage them using the very precept, because they have that commandment, but it's not well explained, but you have to explain them using Buddhist information in details. Of course, the law of karma is not so well explained, and the rebirth, but you have to tell them the law of karma, it has results. What you do comes back to you. And of course, you tell them, okay, I'll give you an example, for instance. I was, when I just came to Uganda, I used to stay with somebody who's an engineer, and he used to see me sweeping insects from the bathroom before I took a shower. He said, why are you sweeping these insects? They are very small insects. Huh? Don't waste your time. You know, these are insects. Just pour water on them and kill them. I say, well, but of course also he has this background, faith. Then I told him, engineer, you've been an engineer for a long time and you retired one. Can you make an insect? And I give you one day, you manufacture an insect? He said, no. What about 2 years? What about 50 years? Can you really make that insect that you're killing? He said, no. So from that progression, I told him that the reason why I'm sweeping these insects is I didn't give them life. Why do I take life that I didn't give? So you have to use many examples, and also the benefit of observing that precept, that thing of not killing, not doing these things, like fishing, because they do it for fun, for game, because they don't know. So you encourage them, and you tell them, especially law of karma, what you reap, what you sow is what you reap. It's already in Christian faith. In many faiths, we have, even in Buganda, in our language here in Uganda, we have that saying, that means what you do, it comes back to you. So you try to tell them from that faith, what you sow is what you reap. You kill, also you get some what called results. So I mean, once you have done your part, well, whether people are going to stop that or not, that's another thing, because this is a fun for them. Yeah, fun for them, but slowly, but you've done at least your part of encouraging them. Yeah, encouraging them. As I told you, you can put your intention there, you can put your effort to advise them, but the results, you have no control. And if you get frustrated about the results, that they are still killing the fish, and you get frustrated, then you'll have a problem, because at the end of the day, that's their karma, right? That's their karma of taking life. You know, it's not your karma. You know, so in other words, take it easy. Don't really don't burn out. Trying to tell people to stop fishing and all these things. So at the end of the day, you know that though is your son, but in the end they have to carry their cross. That's their own karma. But at least you have cleared your part. Am I clear, Sister Michelle?
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah. Yes, because I do it all the time here. Tell people, please don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They don't. People, as far as I finish my part, my intention and my effort. After that, people do it. I do it normally 3 times. Why I do 3 times? One is if they continue, I say something and they don't do it, I say, oh, this must be maybe an accident. I tell them and they continue to do the same thing. I say, oh, this is a coincidence. And then the 3rd time I tell them, please, please don't do this. It's not good. And then they do it. I say, oh, they do it. It's a mistake. Third time. The fourth time, I tell them, please don't do it, and they do it. I say, this is a habit. I just say, well, we'll find you in the future, wherever you'll be, or we'll find each other. Because I've done my part, but don't do it once. I told you I do it 3 times to make sure. Dutiampi, tatiampi. That's it. Dutiampi the second time, the tatiampi the third time, fourth time is a habit. When I found the fourth time somebody is doing the same thing I'm telling them, I know it's a habit, and it's very unlikely that I will stop that habit. So I just go and do something. I go and munch something, go and sit, meditate, do my own stuff, basically. I'm not going to enter the people's life because I know they are bearing their own cross. And that's a Christian saying, bear your own cross. And in Buddhism, it's your own karma. So I hope I'm clear on that also.
Yeah, but he doesn't agree with my view. So
that's what I'm saying.
In the end, yeah, I told him in the end, we can always agree to disagree.
Yes, Sister Michelle, that's why I say that once you tell them and they don't agree, that's the third thing. The third thing is you have no control over that. It's just planting a seed. Exactly. You can put it in the ground. You can put it in the ground. You can even get it from Uganda and take the seed to Singapore. You have that ability. You can also put water and soil in Singapore. But how to bring fruits? That one you have no control. Even if is your son, you have no control over that. At the end, in the final analysis, they have to repeat it. So for me, actually, when people they repeat something after telling them 4 times, I just say, good luck. Continue. Good luck on that one. Because at the end of the day, people will realize that, and maybe I've also myself, there are many things they told me to stop. I didn't. And I had to learn the hard way. You leave those people to learn in a school of hard knocks. There's a school called hard knocks. So now you tell them, it's like a kid, tell them, please don't touch fire. They listen, and they listen, and because you're still around. One day you go, now they have gone. Now they warm up, they touch fire. I'm telling you, go back, they're back. Then they know that fire is not good. So the same thing, unfortunately, it may continue on fishing and fishing, but later on, they might realize later on in their life, we don't know whether we'll be around. Yeah, because I can tell you, I wasn't born a monk, and many, many things they told me not to do. And I did them. So now I realized. So I can bank on life, actually. Life is so good. Good. It's also life is a teacher, by the way. Michelle, you give a birth to your son, you're not the only teacher, you're the first one. But there's other teacher. There's other teacher. Yes, life is a teacher in itself. So life will teach him, definitely. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You've done your part as a parent. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yes.
That's your duty. That's your duty. You even go and read the Rāgavinaya Sutta. Read the Rāgavinaya Sutta. Sorry?
And it's even more difficult and it's a different faith.
Yeah, it is different, but the thing is, that's not so bad, actually. That's not bad, actually, so much being a different faith. Because I was born into that faith. I see there's some flexibility there. I see there's some flexibility in that faith because I was born in that faith. I know very well. So, and I'm a direct product of that faith, and I've taught so many people where I teach in USA, people from that faith, and you teach them and they grasp it, actually. They understand it. It's not so bad. So you're good to go. Yeah, so give it time. Give it time. So I told you, just do the watering and just keep the intention clear and don't worry about the results. When they're going to do it, maybe next year, maybe after. Yeah, so. And also it can be next life. Don't worry about it. The good thing about Buddhism is that we live so many lives. As a parent, as a mother, I know you are very kind and very wonderful, and you love the Dhamma and all that. So now the thing is, somebody doesn't understand the Buddha. Buddha has so many students who are not understanding. What about Michelle? We are talking about the Lord Buddha. So now, what I'm saying is, take the stance of the Buddha. I mean, can you imagine the Buddha teaching and don't get the message? So now you have done your part. Yes, don't worry that there are different faith. That's not a problem. The key is that you do your duty now, and the results they can come in this very lifetime, in the next lifetime, and maybe in a subsequent lifetime. So you do for this part, and then you just say, wow, we'll do some other thing. Don't even touch that topic anymore after 3 times. And then, because if you do it many, many times, they become deaf. they don't take it seriously. Just tell them 3 times I told you. I mean, you can use your own standard. For me, I use 3 times. But then you just say, let life take on its own course, Yeah, let life take its own course. See his own karma, and you have your own karma. Yeah, and then have compassion towards that person. Have compassion towards that person. Yeah, maybe also many people, as a monk, they told me these things and these things. I mean, before I became a monk, that now I'm a monk, I can realize them. Yeah, maybe after 10 years, they become Buddhist and they can even listen better than you do. I don't know. I'm just giving an example. Yeah, you'll be surprised. Oh, this is a person I was asking not to kill fish, and this person is really changed like this. So I'm telling you, people can change. I've seen these changes. Don't despair, really, actually, because this very person down the road, like a year from now, they might go to meditate and somewhere, and then they say, wow, is this what mother was telling me all the time? And I didn't realize it. Yeah, so please be happy, enjoy your life. Tell him to practice loving kindness and love your neighbors, you love yourself. Those principles in this Christian tradition. And you tell them that, wow, do you really love that fish? But you are killing it. I mean, the good thing, you can actually use some of those teachings yourself and see how it goes. But for me, I wouldn't mind so much about the results. I would really focus on the process, which is intention and effort. And then you've done your job as a mother. You read the Sāgalovada Sutta, the relationship between parents and children. You see your duties. Your duties is to stop them from doing what's not blah, blah, like this. You read it and you see. So now I'm going to share the merit, and then you go to the thing. Okay. Akasata Chabumata Devanaga Mahidika Punyatam Almoditra Chiramrakantu Lokasasana Chiramrakantu Desana Chiramrakantu Mampara Itawata Chakame Sampadam Punya Sampan Sabbe Deva Anumodantu Sabbe Butta Anumodantu Sabbe Satta Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Mina Punya Kamena Mame Bala Samagamo Satam samagama hotu yavani vana papya. Then idame nyatina hotu sukita hotu nyatayo. Idame nyatina hotu sukita hotu nyatayo. Idame nyatina hotu sukita hotu nyatayo. Sadhu.
Now invite all the sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits for cultivating the wholesome thoughts, wholesome speech, and wholesome actions this morning. Let us now chant together. Etawata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe dewa anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etawata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe buddha anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etawata ca amhehi Sambatang punya sampadang Sabe satta anumodantu Sabba sampati siddhya. The dedication of merits to our departed relatives. Let us chant together. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we have Dr. Ng Yuan Yan, who will be giving us a talk on the title Consciousness and Aggregate. We hope to see you next Sunday. Thank you.
Imagine a house you can come into. There is no condition that you must fulfill.